So yes, I'm a business person, and often I'll do marketing stuff. And the first thing that all the marketing stuff asks me to do is create my demographic, right? This is Janet Trevino, and I am a professional cuddler. So here it goes. Often I start writing who my demographic is, and it's married men, ages 35 to 70, 80. Yeah, and just like I write the word married, and it's really difficult, right? Because it's not acceptable for me to say, I want you men, right, who are married. And I hear like wives telling me like, how dare you? You're coming for our men. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. There's a huge problem going on in our society around men and platonic touch and touch in general and sex and all the ways in which men engage, understand their bodies, understand their biology, understand relationships, understand touch and sex, and men are discovering that they can be more vulnerable and more open, and discovering the deep loneliness that exists as well in their life. And then they're in these relationships for 20, 30, 40, 50 years where there isn't intimacy or touch, and I'm going to say they probably messed it up, right? I'm sure that they would take ownership for that, as well as knowing that like their partner is no longer there. Yet they're married, and they love their wives, and they love their children, and they really want that to stay intact. And they're lonely, and they're lacking affection and care. And honestly, if more women came and saw me, my demographic would be women. That would be easy. But it's not how this works. It's been men. So the other part of all of this they'll tell me like, I talked to my wife. I shared my fears and my insecurities. My wife, I know she wants me to be gentler and kinder and more loving and all of that. And the moment that I do exactly what she asks, they reject me. They come against me because they don't want that soft man. They want a strong man that will come in and protect and rescue them. But at the same time, women give this really confusing message around, I want you to be strong, but I also need you to be gentle and kind and like soft, right? And so there's this, it's very confusing. So men do come to me and they get gentle and emotional, and they share their fears and their insecurities. That's what I do. I witness, I hold, and I listen. So I'm gonna ask Michelle Renee to join me on this because she has also observed the same thing. So as I add her, I'll share a little bit. So Michelle Renee is in San Diego. She also does pro cuddling. Let's see, it's adding, it's gonna take a little bit. And so this conversation, if you are on my Facebook, you can access my personal profile. There she is. And you can see we had this conversation that we're going back and forth where I'm explaining the things that I've just said. And Michelle, she chimed right in right from the beginning. I was like, oh, I've heard the same thing. And you've actually had the opportunity to talk to women as well who are married. What has been your experience around this dilemma that we have out there?
I just had this happen a couple weeks ago. I met with a woman who she wanted to network. She's another business owner, and she's really interested in the work that I do. And she doesn't come from the sex education world. She doesn't come from the therapy world. So like she's from the bookkeeper world, right? So I was like, how's this gonna go? And she seemed genuinely really interested, and the conversation went really, really well for a while until we started talking about who my clients are. And then it turned into, I was honest. Like, I don't know how to not be honest. You want to talk about my work? I'm going to talk about my work. And I said, I get a lot of married men who are in sexless and usually affectionless marriages. And I felt the whole energy shift. It wasn't just, it was palpable. And she told me that she doesn't have a sexual relationship with her husband. And my first question was, well, do you guys talk about it? Because that's the biggest thing I see is that people just don't talk about it. And she says that they've talked about it. And I didn't probe too much because I could tell that this was really touching a really soft delicate spot for her. And we were in Starbucks. It wasn't the place to dive into this. And she wasn't asking me to dive into this with her. But I just wanted to say, like, I just want to make sure you're talking about it. It's okay to have a sexless marriage. It's okay to have an affectionless marriage if everybody's talking about it. I don't see people talking about it when they come in. So yeah, that ended the conversation pretty quickly. I had set an alarm because I had another appointment to get to, and my alarm had not gone off yet. And she just kind of was like, "Well, you should probably get going." And I took that as my, yep. I think I left her with a lot to think about, and I hope I hope she takes that home and she chews on it for a while. But I look at a lot of people's relationships and I go, that husband, he'll be a client, or he could be a client if I was in their area, or if he knew about the service or whatever, because I see it all around me, and we all have that need.
Last night I went to a meeting where it's an adult child of a couple, and she was explaining about her parents and that she'd never seen them kiss, and they just they don't touch each other at all, and it's fine, and they'll be together forever. And I'm just thinking, and of course I'm stereotyping because of what I've seen, like that husband, like he's not fine. Like he's not fine. Unless, or one of them is not fine. It's unusual that you'll meet a couple where both of them are like, yeah, we never touch, we don't have to kiss, like we're good. There's no more romance, no more affection. Like there's usually one that's saying, I've had to give that up for the sake, and then they think of it for the rest of their lives. They're sacrificing it forever. Like they will die without it. And that's not fair. I think I like what you said, Dan Savage's quote. Could you say that again?
Yeah, I don't want you, but I don't want anybody else to have you. And I said that to me is like hell on earth.
That is. And I will look at my clients and they're telling me their stories, and it's like I almost want to be like, do something. Like I don't know, like you are important, you're worthy, you're valuable, like this matters. And
it's really scary. Like I've left a marriage. I didn't leave the marriage. The marriage left me. And it's a big, scary step, especially when you've committed, you're 20 years in, and how do you start over? There's that, I think they play that, what if it's always like this? What if I'm just creating a huge storm in my life? Is it worth it? They don't know. And I wish I could renegotiate the relationship, I'm from the alternative lifestyle world where we just renegotiate relationships. It doesn't mean that it ends, I still have a wonderful relationship with my ex-husband. It gets better all the time that we're not married. Like it keeps changing and growing.
And because they truly love their spouses, I think people forget, like they love them so much that they're willing to say, then I'll put myself last, or I don't matter anymore. I've heard them say, I can't tell her what I really want and need because I don't want to hurt her.
Yeah.
So a lot of fear around that too.
And that's building a lot of space in that builds a space between two people. There's no way to have true intimacy if you're not able to share those things. And I was making notes before we had this call, based on what I was thinking about from the online conversation. Something that's been really important for me since venturing out of that long-term marriage was creating safety in my relationships for things to be said. Like I was shut down in my marriage to where I couldn't share those feelings. I feel for my clients because I've been on that side of things. And one of the things I've always prioritized in my relationship since then is making it safe to say the scary things. And I don't want my spouse to ever not want to talk to me about something, or my partner. Like I want them to have that conversation, but if they're not having that conversation, it doesn't mean it's because they don't want to have it. They just may not feel safe to have that conversation, or they've had it before and they've been rejected, they've been turned down.
There's a lot of layers to this, and obviously encourage everyone who's going through this to seek a counselor. Just on your own, start telling it to somebody. Find someone that you can talk to about what you're feeling and experiencing, and that's men or women. It doesn't really matter at that point what it is. I know we have a question here in the live chat that's like, what are the deeper issues as to why they are in that situation? Exactly, like there's so
Mhm.
many things. It could be from childhood, it could be from trauma, it could be a lot of things that keep people from getting close, intimate, sharing who they truly are. And
Maybe they don't think they're worth asking for what they want. I mean, there's so much stuff, and I always think, like, I know in my heart that them coming to me is much safer than them seeking that camaraderie from a coworker or somebody that they're seeing on a regular basis, their work spouse, as we like to call it. Um, it's much safer to come to us. So,
and I also, sometimes people feel like there's this already a feeling of unworthiness and lovability, that if they can just come to us first, let us love you and show you you're worth it, and then it can give that extra like oomph to like, I need to do something about this, but
or
not.
practicing the conversations with us. A lot of times it's role playing. Like, I do that. That's something I do with all my clients, male or female. I have female clients that don't know how to talk about their boundaries, and we role play those things because we create the safety that I'm not going to judge you if you say it the wrong way, or I can give you feedback and say, what would sit a little softer is to maybe practice it this way, and that's what I love doing. And it's easier to try that stuff out in the laboratory of our session than where the stakes are really big.
Well, thank you so
Yeah.
much, Michelle, for getting on with me. And
It's good to see you.
of course, if you're in San Diego, please go find Michelle. She is on Cuddlist.com, so you can request a session with her there, or on Facebook, or you're also on
Anywhere.
YouTube. I'm going to be posting this on YouTube, so people can look you up. How do they search you on YouTube?
I'm in Cuddle San Diego, Michelle Renee.
Okay.
I think, I don't know, I don't know. It's complicated, right?
Yeah,
YouTube drives me.
So watch
I
her
don't know
videos
where I am on YouTube.
on YouTube there too. You can see more about her and her work there. So give everybody kisses. Love you, or whatever you do, Michelle there. And
Yeah.
we'll keep talking. Take care,
Good
y'all.
to see you. Okay.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye.